Hey, Kyle here with winthehouseyoulove.com. Today, what I want to do is share with you a video from a good friend of mine, Scott Smith. So he just recently purchased a newly built home. Now, I know a lot of you are looking at purchasing a newly built home instead of a pre-existing one. And I asked him to record a video sharing his experience. So the following is going to be Scott sharing his experience all the way from the beginning to the end, so you can hear from somebody who actually purchased a newly built home, what their experience was like going through this. Now, in a future video, I'm going to break down some of the ins and outs of buying a newly built home so you can navigate that process a little bit easier. But first, wanted you to see the experience firsthand from Scott.
Hey, my name is Scott, and Kyle asked me to send in a video just to kind of talk through the process that my wife and I went through in building our first home. A little backstory, my wife and I have been married for 15 years, and we started out renting homes. We actually rented an apartment. Matter of fact, it was low income housing because I started out in my career as a school teacher. I was making nothing. My wife was still in college, and so we actually qualified for low income housing, and we started there. A year into our marriage, we had a family that offered us to be able to rent their house for a year, and we did that. And then we had the opportunity to buy our first home a couple years into our marriage. And so we did that, and that was a great time. We lived in that house for 13 years, and it got to the point where because we had our son, and he was growing up, and it was a small house. It was a starter home, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. I'm 6'3", and the ceilings were so low in the house that I could literally palm the ceiling without even having to extend my arm up. And so we got to a place where, even though we enjoyed the property, the location where that house was at, we just needed a change. We needed something different. And so we started looking into just buying a home. So we were looking at the housing market, going on Zillow, doing the whole search. And in our area, in our market, it was more expensive to buy a home already done than it was to build a house here. And we didn't know that. We just assumed that building was going to be way more expensive. It was going to be out of our league. And so we just were, for probably a good 9 months to a year, just like, occasionally checking Zillow, and I was getting those daily emails and et cetera, trying to find things. And what I found is, like, what we were looking for price-wise, it seemed like we were going to pay a bunch of money, and there was going to be all kinds of it's just going to be a big project to deal with. So we actually saw some developments in our area. Some builders were building, and so we stopped by an open house one evening, and we talked to the builder, one of the sales reps for the builder, and we started to realize, building a house, we're in the same price range as what we were looking at with all these homes, and then we get a brand new house, we get to get into it and enjoy it ourselves. And so that's ultimately what we decided to end up doing. And we decided to go with a pre-engineered house. So the builder, basically what that means is they already have the house fully designed. Basically everything comes in different packages that you can select from. And there's no real custom work at all, right? It's just, here's these different packages. And that has some pros and cons. The biggest thing for us was a custom built home by a custom builder would have cost us about $100,000 more than what we paid for our current home. So for us, a custom home was really just out of the picture for us. And to be honest with you, my wife and I really didn't even mind the pre-engineered package deal. The benefits of that, when we sat down with the salesperson, we walked through the houses. So here's the different houses they had to offer. We walked through those. And we very quickly said, yeah, this is the house design that we want. This is what meets our needs. And then she literally walked us through step by step, here's the options you have for the kitchen. Here's the options you have for the flooring. Here's the options you have for the outside. And I think we fully designed that house, picked out all the options, probably within an hour and a half. My sister and her husband and family just recently built a custom home, and it seemed like they were still having to make design choices even in the middle of the building process. And so for us, my wife and I, just living kind of the lives that we live, we have pretty busy work lives. And we're making a lot of decisions. And to be honest with you, We just wanted that process simple. We weren't looking for crazy, like here's the thing, the builder had already designed the house in such a way that where it worked. It made sense, the flow made sense, the designs, the colors, all of that stuff to us, we were like, yep, that's what we would have chosen anyway. So it made that process really, really easy to go that direction. That's not for everybody. That was just for us. There's some other kind of pros and cons. We had options, but they were very limited. So it was very much like, here's like the kitchen cabinet package, and here's 3 different ones you can pick from, and you kind of go from there. There was not like an option if we wanted to move a doorway somewhere else, like that wasn't an option. Matter of fact, early on in the process, I asked, we got a basement on ours, so it's something that we wanted. So very early on in the process, I asked, they had 8-foot ceilings in their basement, and I said, will you guys do 9-foot or 10-foot ceilings? And they said, nope, they only do 8-foot ceilings. So I quickly realized, like, okay, this isn't custom. We're staying within their parameters, but that wasn't terrible for us. The other thing about and this is true of anytime you're building a home, but anything extra cost extra, right? Like if you wanted another outlet, that was going to be an extra charge. And sometimes it felt like, man, to do something what seemed basic seemed kind of expensive. Like they would charge quite a bit. For instance, we were looking at having can LED lights put in the ceiling. Those lights at any like Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that, they cost like $20 to $40, but it was going to be like $200 per light. So like 4 lights was going to be $800, 5 lights is going to be $1,000, and it just seemed like that expense added up really fast. And so there were a number of things that we said, hey, this is maybe not critical, and so we were just trying to save cost where we can. A benefit though of the prepackaged houses, of that pre-designed, pre-engineered house, is that because they're packages, a lot of times the builder is willing to work deals, they'll call them incentives, on certain things if you build with them in a certain time period. So when we got in, it's kind of a long story, won't bore you with all of that, but when we got in, we had the opportunity to take advantage of an advantage where we got our basement completely finished by them. So drywall, carpet, paint, like the whole deal, was able to be completely finished by them. And that was like a $20,000 savings, where if this was a custom home builder, typically, sometimes maybe they might, but typically they're not going to be discounting a whole area of the house in that way. So that was kind of a nice incentive, and they're willing to kind of wheel and deal depending on where they're at in the build process. Ours was one of the last houses on the lot. That builder was eager to close out their lot and their development, and so they were like wheeling and dealing to kind of get things done. The big thing for us, that for my wife and I, as we went into this and I think this compared to other people that we've talked to that have been in the building process recently, was it seems like it's all about managing your expectations. My wife and I, honestly, like our expectations was we just wanted a house that was better than the one we were currently in, which, to be fair, it was kind of setting a low bar. But for us, we have 9-foot ceilings in our house. So I can literally just like walk through the house with my arms up, because our last house had like 7.5-foot ceilings, right? And so it was, those little things for us have made the world of difference for us, as we've just been able to enjoy the house. You can't go into building a new house with the expectation that the whole house is just going to be absolutely perfect. No matter if you buy or you build, there's going to be issues, there's going to be problems, there's going to be things that aren't maybe finished a certain way that you want it to be. We found in that process that having a great relationship with your general contractor, that's the guy who's going to oversee the whole construction process on the ground. It's the person who's managing the subcontractors, like the roofers and electricians and drywall people. That person, building good rapport with them, being in contact, if you have questions, ask them. We would come out to the job site in the middle of construction, and I've been around enough construction sites to know that the construction site is not finished, right? Like if they're in the middle of building, there's going to be things that don't look right, that look unfinished. It is the general contractor's job to find those things, to see those things and correct them in the middle of that build process. And so Fortunately, we got a great general contractor. He was awesome to work with. He would answer our questions. We built in a weird time with the whole pandemic thing, so we couldn't necessarily come into the house and come and go as we please. But we were able to communicate with him, and we felt like that worked really good to make sure things were done correctly and that our questions were answered. There's going to be things, even still, we find some things here and there that maybe aren't perfect. But for us, man, our expectations were that we just want a good home. We know things aren't going to be perfect, but we can enjoy what we have. And so that's what you go into. You go, what your expectations are going into a project like that are really, really key in terms of how you're going to experience the process, as well as how you're going to experience the home afterwards. We're really thankful to be able to have built. We asked Kyle questions on financing the side of things, and he was super helpful with those to kind of steer us in the right direction. And it was good. We had a great experience. We are enjoying the house. We've been in it for a couple months now. We love it. Every night at dinner, we just say a prayer of gratefulness for what we get to experience and enjoy. We've been able to have some friends over and really be able to maximize the space well. And for us, being in a space that's new, that feels like ours from the start, doesn't feel like we have to undo what the previous owner had done to the space to make it feel like ours. It's just a clean slate. Was a great experience in terms of choosing to build over buy. And again, our area was about the same price, if not cheaper, to build than it was to buy something that was already in existence in our market. So hopefully that was helpful for some of you who are looking at the building process as an option for your next home. There's a lot of options out there. Do your homework, ask a lot of questions, find a general contractor who will respond to you and communicate with you. And I'm sure you will have an opportunity to love your house as much as we have. So thanks.